Today, I want to talk about how you can differentiate between a healthy breakup from a toxic one. Because even though every breakup, any connection that has been separated from us, deals requires us to deal with a lot of heartache, disappointment, and lots of tears and all that. But if you notice, there's going to be some crucial differences, very glaring and obvious, between a healthy breakup and an unhealthy one, a toxic one. After the breakup, how it shows. Primarily, the very first one you feel is, even though in both cases there is heartache, there is a heartbreak, there is a sudden doom and sudden sense of depression or shutting down that happens. Most important thing you will notice is, in a healthy breakup, even though your heart is broken, even though you're very hurt that this person has left you or you have to leave the person, whoever has initiated it, actually whoever has initiated has very little effect on us in a healthy breakup, because the relationship has been progressed in such a nice fashion. There is more or less equal give and take. There is real respect. The foundations of the relationship has actually been respect, boundaries, real love, affection, a kind of sense, friendship, a kind of good sense for each other. You don't have to hate them. That kind of vibe I'm talking about. So it's been reasonably healthy. It has been a good dynamic. There is a decent give and take. There is no violation or exploitation of any kind. So after the breakup, you hurt. Your heart is torn apart. The major thing you see is, you can still forgive the other person. You can still see their viewpoint. You do not hate them. You don't get angry on them. No, in some sense you actually shut down, but you also can actually cry. You won't force yourself to hold on to that pain. You don't take the heaviness too much. You went healthily. You are able to comfortably cry. You are able to say good luck and goodbye to them. There is a sense of closure, even though sometimes the closure is not directed from that other person. You can give yourself closure. There is no severe longing for the person, such an extent that you crave for closure, that you ignore being a functional person and ignore some important aspects of your life, and you become so lost and so broken that you run behind closure instead of taking care of yourself. You are hurt. So instead of paying attention to this individual, you who is primary, right now, you start running after closure so much that it breaks you so much, because the other person doesn't give it to you in some way, shape, or form. This is very much visible in toxic relationships during breakups. Even though I'll first cover the healthier aspects and then go to toxic. So you don't hate them. There is no urgency in forcing a closure from your side or their side. There is a sense of letting go and forgiveness and understanding what role you played or what role they played in the breakup, or just coming to a kind of understanding of, maybe the situation has caused the separation rather than you as individuals or your bond. Some other decision, some other important thing has come into their life or your life that you have to separate, or something like that. There is a sense of understanding and a respect for the other person. Despite the loss that you're suffering, you can still respect them. You are kind both to yourself and the other person. You don't hate or you don't get angry. You don't feel like hurting them in any way, shape, or form. You care about them. You respect them. You have a a high regard for them and for yourself also, self-respect, that you don't just break down and do something crazy. You are still emotional, but your emotions doesn't take over you. You don't push them to say more or do more or give closure or give more information, whatever it is. There is no such thing. There is no such pull. There is a sense of, okay, this is what it is. Coming to closure on your own. And that comes with a very nice bow tie instead of a cruel, ruthless, angry kind of approach. So this is how healthy breakups happen. But when you're talking about toxic breakups, it's the extreme opposite. But the primary thing I mentioned about, even though you're broken, even though you're so hurt and your heart is in shambles, in a toxic relationship, you fall apart. Like you fall apart within minutes of hearing the news. Even if the person is breaking up with you over a text or a call or in person or in a public or private space, doesn't matter. It almost shatters you in no time. As if you didn't see it coming. Or even if you already suspected something has not been right, somehow you just cannot come to terms that this is over. You crave for more information, you crave for closure that we will never give. In a toxic relationship, the other person never gives you closure. They still somehow or the other, either through their still being in touch with you or by interfering with your life through common friends or common scenarios or some other manipulation, they still poke the wound that they have caused by breaking up with you or separating with you. They just won't let you go because they also cannot let go. And you are entangled in this mess so much that you keep craving for that one last call, the one last message, or one last conversation, or one last memory, etc., etc., etc. But it will never come. And the more you crave for it, the more the other person can sense that you are waiting for that last piece of nail in the coffin, and they know that the nail in the coffin actually closes everything, but they don't like to give closure. They are not healthy, and maybe in some ways you are also not healthy. That's why you are participating in the dynamic still, even after breakup. And they sense that you are looking for that one last piece of puzzle so that you can move on, and they don't want you to move on. They break up with you. They may have even initiated you, but still they won't let you go, and they won't give you closure, so you won't move on. And you are stuck here. You don't move forward, you can't go backward, and you are stuck, stand still. And you do not process what's happening, you do not take healthy steps to get out of the situation that you're still entangled in. And this person, knowing fully well that the one closure will help you, will never do it, because that's what they want, to still leech onto you. And you are still leeching onto them emotionally on some level too. So they take advantage of it even after breaking up, because that is what they did in the relationship also. They leeched onto you, and that's what they're doing now. So as long as you don't give your own closure, it's gonna haunt you. The haunting is one thing that will stay after breakups with a toxic person. Another part of the haunting is obsession, stalking, following. They are constantly lingering around. You have to. There is this compulsion, obsessive thoughts and compulsive actions. There is no thought, there is no rational thought, there is no stopping and self-restraint and self-control and self-respect there. You keep breaching your own boundaries, expecting something from them even after the breakup, and they won't give it to you. And you are constantly in the cycle of burning yourself out because you don't give the closure yourself, because you don't see the toxicity yet. You're still in it. Doesn't matter if it's a physical breakup, you are emotionally, psychologically, literally in it. And as long as you don't help yourself in those areas, you will be in it for as long as the other person wants. Unless you empower yourself, heal and get out. So this obsession, haunting, the craving for closure, and the most important thing, you're always, all the time, broken. You just break yourself down and you can't function normally. See, again, normally there is a time frame within which, couple of months, people go through trauma. They go through this grieving process, and that is normal. But it will not stop them from being a functional person. You see, they don't go back to addictions. They don't go back to sleeping around just like that. They don't they don't go for rash driving. They don't get caught up in the angry, and they don't stalk and follow the other person, or they don't involve in some kind of harassment, or they don't use anger as a tool to vent out and all that. But in an unhealthy breakup, this is what happens. They break down so much, they go back to addictions, they do things recklessly, harmfully, they are malignant, they harass other persons, or they catch new rebound relationships and start taking these risky, impulsive, irresponsible behaviors. They don't function normally. Their work life or studies or their other family life, some other part of their life which was reasonable before the breakup, suddenly falls apart, and they almost make themselves zombies. Like they cannot handle it. It's as if they don't have the emotional, psychological capital within them, reserve within them, to make use of those reserves to handle disappointments, pain, suffering, loss, grief in life, which is usually present in a healthy person. It's not like the healthy person doesn't go through the same things, but they are emotionally, psychologically well informed and well aware, and they have the self-respect for themselves, and they have the emotional and psychological capital that they utilize to understand and come to terms with what happened and handle the breakup healthily. And they overcome it. They grieve. But the grief doesn't have to take over their life so much that they start affecting their other parts of all parts of their life, almost in a sense ruining their life. Again, this trend is very badly shown in movies, and like in Arjun Reddy, Kabir Singh and all that. I can give you that example because that's the most easily relatable thing. None of that is healthy. None of what the dude does is healthy in that movie. Okay, it's highly dangerous, and don't even ever involve with that kind of people who can't handle their own lives like that. And that's how it will look. They are toxic, or the person they are involved with is toxic, that they fall apart so much that they start destroying everything within them and around them. None of that is healthy. Something is wrong with this person when they are doing those things. So stay away from those kind of people. But that is how you have to take note. There is no respect for themselves or others. There is no forgiveness. There is no closure. There is no emotional self-control. There is no proper grieving process where they can take care of their own emotional reserves. They utilize the emotional and psychological reserves to understand and come to terms with situation, dismantle it, and just take it for what it is. Accept that this is it, and you give your own closure, because that is acceptance. That is the final closure, and acceptance comes from you. The other person doesn't have to give it to you. It's not their job actually. In a healthy place, in a healthy relationship, the other person gives you, but that's a good thing. But you have to be very aware that there's not many healthy people out there, so they will tag you along and keep you on a leash even after breakup. So instead of expecting them to give closure, we give it ourselves, because we respect ourselves, we love ourselves, we care about ourselves. We grieve, we mourn the loss, we suffer the loss, we go through the process like every other person. But in the end, we come out still the same person. We do not become an entire zombie or something. We don't break apart and tear apart our whole lives just because an important person has left our life. What's the most important person to me? me. That's self-respect. That is self-love. If you cannot be affectionate and respectful towards your own self, you will end up behaving like the toxic person, completely destroying your own lives or other people's lives and burdening other people's with your this sadness and pressures and addictions and what or other are destroying habits, and it's just creating more drama and chaos, and that itself is a sign that you are not a very healthy person, and you have to develop your emotional and psychological capital, have a very good understanding, a very good respect and self-esteem for yourself, that you are able to handle the loss. In this life, loss is common. Suffering is suffering is common. Pain, grief is common. So you prepare for it. You be practical and mature enough to ready yourself, take enough support system, do your own thing and help yourself out of the grief. You grieve, but doesn't mean by the time you come out of the grief, you become an entire zombie. You don't totally break apart and something has fallen apart in your life. You don't feel like that. In healthy breakups, you recover and then you look back and you see there is some kind of a beauty in the relationship. And you accept it, you appreciate it, you thank it, okay, you thank the relationship for happening, and then you move on. You do not become an entire different person. Your life doesn't fall apart and everything burns down and all that. It's not that dramatic. It doesn't have to be actually. Okay, these are the things you have to look for.